target number 1 representing Turkey.
Al bersaglio numero 1 per la Turchia,
Nil Misir. On target number 2 representing the Czech Republic.
Al bersaglio numero 2 per la Repubblica Ceca,
Tereza Brandtlova. Line judge for this match, Manuela Cascio. And shooting first is target number 2, Czech Republic.
Well, Chris, we had some familiar names in the bronze medal match in Danabas and Pelazari. It's the same here. Nil Misir of Turkey against Tereza Brandtlova of the Czech Republic. Another tasty lineup.
Nil was the runner-up at the last World Championships held in February in Dubai. She shot a great match then. And has had a great competition so far this week in Rome.
It's going to be her opponent, Brandtlova, who gets us underway.
3.
Very high into the 3. So her just trying to get settled into her chair. Doesn't look like she's quite found the right position yet.
Seven.
You know, it's interesting. We often see archers change their sights after the first arrow. You call it a sighter often, Karim. That first arrow for Brandtlova, she didn't do anything to her bow. She tightened the straps that are around her torso. As we spoke about, W1 athletes are allowed those straps to keep them in the chair because they may not have feeling in their core. If that wasn't tight, if that wasn't in the right spot, it could have moved her arrow all over the place. Result, she's brought it down. She's brought it back kind of in that horizontal line that she needs it to be.
7.
Well, just goes to show what difference that chair setup and particularly the positioning and the stabilizer belt, the safety belt makes. 2 7s after that, 3.
10.
But off to a flyer. It's Nil Misir, 24 plays 17, and I think I just heard the stadium announcer say there might be a measure involved here, so it could get marked up to an 18 for Brandtlova. But yeah, Chris, going back to that positioning in the chair and the additional equipment you don't get in non-disabled archery, that's the key to that first set. Well, first, certainly the key to that first arrow.
Yeah, and she went to it straight away. She knew what would happen. So I would imagine as she was aiming, the arrow or her bow was drifting up. She couldn't keep it down. She couldn't control it. And you know, we're talking a millimeter at the archer end. That's resulted in a 3-point arrow down at the target. She knew exactly what had gone wrong. She went and tightened it and brought it back down. And the result for the next 2 arrows were that they were almost touching in the target. Then they moved the sight. How important was that first arrow? Because not only did it lose her points in that particular arrow, but it didn't give her the sighter arrow she needed to make the second arrow good. And actually, probably worse than the 3 points she scored with the first arrow, with the 2 7s she scored with the second and the third, because they could have been much, much better.
Interesting point, and interesting to note for the diary, I've just made Chris Wells from World Archery use my term sighter in commentary. Start of the second here. Tereza Brandtlova looking to recover from a difficult start. Puts it into the 6.
Nine.
9.
9.
Well, she needs a few more of those. Trailing by 10 after 4 arrows, Brandtlova.
8. 8.
7, 8 liner.
7, forse 8.
5.
5.
Well, if anything,
Total of 22
Misir's left the
or
door
23
open a
for
little bit there.
Brandtlova.
Provisionally
Might have
39
one
could get
point, but
mucked
it's
up
still
for
a
40 for
46
Brandtlova,
to 39 or 40
46
for
for
Misir.
Misir. So she's not running away with it, the athlete from Turkey.
No, she's not. And we talk about that maths again. With 1 arrow left to shoot in that end, there was a 10-point deficit for the Czech archer. You can't get a 10-point deficit from a 3. So it really was those arrows just after the 3 that she wasn't able to properly sight in. She wasn't able to use that initial arrow to launch her in this match because her chair wasn't set. That's where she lost the points. She's actually shot a better end there and her opponent from Turkey. So yeah, she's got a lot of work to do, lots of work, and you can see how uncomfortable this heat is as well. A lot of work to do in this match, but it's possible.
Yeah, it's interesting when you talk about the sort of the build to get yourself into the centre. It's more than just that 1 arrow. That's a really interesting dynamic that can be applied to that first set or end in archery that we haven't perhaps talked about before in commentary.
The really challenging thing in this sport is interpretation of your result, right? You shoot an arrow, it lands somewhere, it's good or bad on the scoreboard, but how that arrow got there, did you shoot well, did you shoot badly, what did you do wrong, what could be improved, what did the wind do? All of these things have to be interpreted in such a small space of time. And that's really, really what the battle is.
Well, good news becomes better news for Brandtlova. She got marked up to a 40. She still trails by 6, so shoots first, and that looks like it's just outside the 9 for an 8. She's certainly not out of this. Well, she wasn't before. She's got an extra point, so she's closer.
9.
Now, the question is, does Misir now push on?
Nine.
9.
9. 9.
Well, getting better and better score-wise. Within the ends.
10.
But it was a question of when was Misir going to come good, and it looks like she's done it in the third.
Against Brandtlova, who shot her 26 points.
She led by 6 coming into this.
66 points.
And she's opened up to an 8-point lead. So, Chris, she didn't quite capitalise the Turkey athlete right at the beginning in those first 2 sets. It looks like she's put the accelerator pedal down a little bit now.
Yeah, but forget what happened earlier now. That was an exceptional end. Outshot the Czech athlete clearly over those 3 arrows. Really, if you can find that consistency, you can find that settle point in W1, they can shoot some really, really, really high scores, especially when you consider the physical challenges that these athletes do have to overcome. But I mean, what's really, really obvious in this particular match is the temperature challenge that both of these archers are having to battle. Very quick in there with the cold packs. It's far too hot in Rome, and it's not easy for these W1 archers.
No, you could see in particular there that Tereza Brandtlova was taking some very deep, calming breaths by the looks of things, whilst getting the cold pack applied to the top of her head. 2 more ends to go as well. Red in the face as well. She's looking like she's struggling just a little bit more than perhaps she would like to be with the conditions, let alone the stress of competition. Trailing by 8, Tereza Brandtlova begins the 4th end here.
9. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8. 8.
Staying very relaxed, Misir.
Wind's picking up again, and as we've talked about, control for these W1 athletes in the core, challenging wind becomes even tougher.
7. 7.
Well, opportunity to go 10 clear here with this last arrow for Misir.
9-10 liner, probably a 10.
Well, it's a close one. Chris, I'm going to ask you, can you call that one?
Definitely a 10. There was no gap at all between the shaft and the
10,
line,
so
but
it would
that
be a
confirmation
26,
is
100
almost
point
moot
for
in this
Misir,
situation.
and
3 arrows to go
19
and an
points, so
arrow
10 points
ahead,
lead.
9 or 10,
If a
give
10
or take.
is confirmed for the
It's a
Turkish
really
archer.
commanding position to be in for this Turkish archer. It wasn't all about that first end as well. Of course, the first arrow was tough. Of course, there were some points dropped, but over the few ends since then, she's really tightened things up and she's started to pull away.
Yeah, 29 in the previous end, and 8-10 for a 26 in that end. And Misir just applying enough of the accelerator pedal to start to pull away, leading by 10 now in this Women's W1 Open gold medal match here at the European Championships of 2022. The conditions are absolutely brutal, and it is Nil Misir who's handling it just that little bit better at the moment.
That's fascinating. You can see Misir is quite difficult from this angle to see that while she's shooting, but her strap actually just goes over that rear shoulder, that bow shoulder, whereas Brandtlova has the straps across both shoulders. Again, every athlete, every para-athlete different. Every para-athlete allowed a slightly different assistive device to enable them to compete at this level.
Tereza Brandtlova 10, so now call it 9 behind after a measure, and
10.
she shoots her first 10 of the match, getting her into double figures. Oh, we've had another correction. It is now 100 plays 100. Makes the scoreboard look very neat.
9.
Wow, this is the form that she would have been expecting from early doors here. But looks like it's going to be too little too late unless there's a major error here from Nil Misir.
8.
These 8s are enough because of the work that she's done early on. Last arrow of the tournament for Tereza Brandtlova.
6.
That pops it into the 6 for a 1-1-5. Not the biggest score she's got. And as you can see, this arrow is just about completing the 15. And it is Nil Misir who has prevailed.